From the creators of the original Cheat Sheet Rankings, this is the Fantasy Index Podcast. Brought to you by Fantasy Index, the original and best since 1987. Now your hosts, Luke Wilson and Colt Williams.
Hello and welcome once again to the Fantasy Index Podcast with Colt Williams, Luke Wilson here to help you unpack another fresh batch of mayhem in the NFL in the Week 6 games that just concluded earlier tonight. Monday Night Football, Bills-Jets, good game, kind of penalty-addled, but a good game overall. Lots of missed kicks, Colt. That was fun.
Yeah, I think one thing that'll never not be funny is the ball hitting the uprights. Just the sound that it makes. I love it when it double doinks, too. Very rare.
When you have a kicker with a really strong leg like Zerline, and he just barrels it up like you know these on the baseball bat, the sweet spot of the bat. He put it on the sweet spot of the post on that second one. Yeah. I thought the whole thing was going to come down for a second. Yeah. I really did.
People are going to storm off with it like they did in that college game.
The Bills fans are going to carry it back to Buffalo. Yep.
We can put this through a table. Yeah.
Think of the tailgates with this thing.
We could jump off this. Yeah, Bills fans are second to none. They are ruthless. Oh,
Tragedy strikes in Buffalo as tailgaters are paralyzed in Buffalo home game against the Dolphins.
Local paramedics. Not again.
Yes. Can't we just put down those like a foam play structure mat at the parking lot, guys, or something? These guys, no, they'll tear it apart.
They're wild.
So it was a good game. The Jets offense looked just about the best that they have. Kind of got Breece Hall going in this one somewhat. He wasn't able to. He had that long run around the left end down the sideline. Almost got it in the end zone. That would have been nice. But the passing game, Aaron Rodgers really got Garrett Wilson involved with not just targets but receptions. They seem to kind of go with a little bit more of a yards after catch strategy for Garrett Wilson. I'll be interested to see what the advanced metrics are on his performance tonight, but it seemed like they weren't just pushing the ball downfield relentlessly to him and letting him kind of catch it in space and operate. So encouraging, with more modern style usage. Mike Williams may need to put his I don't know if he bought in New York. If he did, he needs to get with a listing agent because falls down on that last offensive play for the Jets.
The hurrah.
Oof. Yeah. Falls down trying to come back to the ball. Yeah, interception. Ouch.
What about the wide receiver one for the Jets? I mean, he balled out. Did you see that Hail Mary, man? I thought when I watched it live, I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't a touchdown. Certainly wasn't a touchdown. I see the ball fly out. And
you just assume it's not going to be a touchdown, really. Anytime there's
I knew it was Alan Lazard. It had to be a touchdown. Had to be.
I feel like the Alan Lazard enthusiasm is like directed at me, like not just from you, other people too, or like seem like extra into Alan Lazard. It feels
that's the point. Yeah, that's the point. I mean, we got hit with the Raheed Shaheed stuff. All the people who didn't believe in Sam Laporta. Like, you've got your W's. Let us get a couple. We want to stack them up so we can make a domain. Like, it's tough. It's tough out in the streets when you have all the good takes on the deep guys. We got some deep cuts today. Like, there's some players that we talked about in the preseason that we were like, oh man, I really hope this guy gets a chance. Or even last season, if you guys were with us with the podcast, some guys that are making the rounds yet again. So excited to talk about them today.
Yeah, no, it will be fun to knock those guys around. Before we do that, though, Colt, why don't you take us through kind of some of the business of the week ahead, week 7, teams that are out with bye weeks, some of the primetime matchups, and give us an idea of what the injury carnage was like in week 6.
There was a lot of carnage, so I'll try to blow through it as fast as I can with you guys comprehending it at the same time. On bye, obviously don't start any of these players. They're going to get you 0 points, even though Dak barely almost scored 0 points here this week. The Bears and the Cowboys are on bye. Sunday Night Football, you got the Jets. You got the Jets at the Steelers. Ravens, Bucks, Monday Night Football. A doubleheader yet again. You got the Chargers and the Cardinals on Monday Night Football as well, which is pretty important because Marvin Harrison Jr. Got knocked out with a concussion. Got you 0 points. Gave you a straight dud. Hopefully, prayers up for him. Hopefully everything's good with him. But Malik Neighbors, we saw just missed 2 weeks with a concussion. Like it's
2 so far.
Pretty Yeah, two so far, exactly. So yeah, you want to have some kind of pivot option. Michael Wilson will be somebody we mentioned here, but you can go to other options as well. Let's get into it. Just the nitty gritty. James Cook missed Monday Night Football. We just wrapped up Monday Night Football. We were watching it. He missed it with a toe injury. I was thankful that I had a pivot option. That's the exact situation we're talking about with Marvin Harrison Jr. here this next Monday night. So have options to pivot out, put them in your flex spot so you don't have to start the same position.
Greg Dortch.
Jordan Mason.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, or you can go Greg Dortch if you like him better than Michael Wilson. I'm indifferent on either one. Jordan Mason, Thursday Night Football, man, he looked amazing. Played a quarter of the game, had like 8 points, and then gets knocked out, comes back in halftime, 1 run. AC joint, he's day-to-day. I've seen those injuries go 2-3 weeks. It might be like lining up with Christian McCaffrey to come back. So we'll talk about his replacement in the event that he misses some time. Christian McCaffrey still doesn't have his practice window open, speaking of the devil. Marvin Harrison Jr. already mentioned he had a concussion, but also his Ohio State teammate, Chris Olave, he's supposed to play on Thursday Night Football. He will not be playing. He will 100% miss this game. There will be no way he'll be cleared in that short amount of time.
No chance.
Derek Carr, also on Thursday Night Football, he missed Sunday. He's expected to miss more than 1 week. Anthony Richardson, he's expected to play. He almost played here this Sunday, but it was like kind of last minute breaking news. Joe Flacco's playing again. And I mean, should they keep playing him? I mean, they won. I think they played Miami. They play Miami, so that's winnable with what they got at quarterback right now. So
yeah. I see it both ways.
We'll have to take a look at that. Puka Nacua still out, won't be practicing this week. But Cooper Kupp, he's kind of up in the air, so you might get Cooper Kupp back after the bye. A lot of hamstring injuries happened this week. You got Tajay Spears, Jerome Ford, Travis Etienne, and Dallas Goedert all week to week with a hamstring injury. It just got them all. Jaden Reed, ankle injury. He's something to monitor. I don't think he got taken out of the game, if I remember correctly, but
briefly,
something to monitor. He's been great for fantasy, so if he's active, you've got to start him. Dontavian Wicks, his teammate, week to week with a shoulder injury, and then Gus Edwards placed on IR. You probably saw that earlier in the week, maybe like Wednesday or Thursday. But we report on Mondays, so we'll figure we update you with that because he's got somebody who we want to talk about today. So
for sure.
Yeah.
With Olave's concussion history and the
is this 3?
At least 3 that we
know of.
Yeah, exactly. Not including anything that happened in college or high school. Yeah, there's no way he's going to play. Who knows for week 8 even? Honestly, I'm not sure when their bye week is, but it's a concern there. But injury begats opportunity. We've got some guys that are poised to potentially benefit. We'll get to them here in just a minute. Yeah, for Anthony, for the Colts, like I get the argument. Like Flacco's balling. Why not? Yeah. Why not keep him in there? For where the Colts are at, they're back to 500. They're 3-3, and they're playing decent ball, and that's great. You want to win. Do the Colts really think they're serious contenders right now with either quarterback? Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of some of the calculus here. Is like, Joe Flacco maybe gets us to 10 wins instead of 8 or 9 or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's a maybe. Is that worth they'd be opting into a quarterback controversy, basically. And they might wind up at 1 anyway if Richardson continues to struggle because the leash has never been shorter for incoming franchise quarterbacks. But I just what Joe Flacco is. He if Richardson stinks, sit him back down, or if he gets hurt, you've still got him. So
it's a tough spot to be in. It's like Flacco, everybody knows it. Shane Steichen knows it. Anthony Richardson knows it. But Joe Flacco gives you the best opportunity to win now. But Anthony Richardson needs more reps. Like he probably doesn't have 20 games in between college and NFL. Like he needs reps out there. And, it's a really, really tough spot to be in. It just depends on what the coaching staff and the organization wants to do. Ultimately, of course, they want to win. But
of course.
Joe, it's a tough spot to be in.
Are you going to go into 2025 with Joe Flacco at how old even is he? 39, 40?
39, yeah.
Yeah, you going to go in week 1 with him as your Aaron Rodgers impersonator while Richardson languishes on the bench? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But if Richardson stinks it up again for a week or two, then okay, maybe time to re-examine. You mentioned, or I saw on the docket, not all bad news. Is there some good news?
There is a little bit of hope for the people who have been holding on to Nick Chubb. He is expected to be active in Week 7. So Jerome Ford just went down. Like I said, he's one of the hamstring guys week to week. I think it was Pierre Strong they elevated. I think he was the lead, at least for fantasy, lead back. So Nick Chubb, he might not be expected to get the full workload, but he might get more than we expected originally, especially if Jerome Ford misses time. And then Ricky Pearsall and Jonathan Brooks, their practice window should be opened up here this week. Doesn't mean they'll play. They've got 21 days to play, so it's encouraging at least.
Yeah, Strong and Foreman both looked pretty good in subbing in for Jerome Ford after he exited against the Eagles yesterday. Especially considering that the Browns could get absolutely nothing going through the air. Unusual for them. So with Chubb coming back, it seems my initial gut is like it's pretty muddy. Like this, it's going to be a two-headed beast at least. But yeah, I mean, Chubb, just the upside, the ceiling is what you're chasing there for sure. And they'll do anything to keep the ball out of Watson's hands. Maybe that even means giving Chubb double-digit touches sooner rather than later. So
yeah. They play Cincinnati, which they're about middle of the pack for running backs. It could be worse.
Could be.
So yeah, I mean, and some people might be in a position where, hey, I lost my running back. I had to start Dameon Pierce this last week, which would have been pretty good. But it just depends on what situation you're in. I'm trying not to start Nick Chubb because I just want to see how the water kind of settles, but it's a name that people are going to be starting 100% for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Let's jump into it though. We were talking about running backs. We'll start it off with this guy who is most likely rostered. He's rostered 55% of leagues. He's rostered 100% of the leagues that I'm in because I didn't stop believing. I tell you that. Tyrone Tracy, in his 2-week stretch as the starter, he only trails DeAndre Swift, which what a comeback. And Derrick Henry at fantasy points as far as running back goes. The Tracy train, if it left the station, sorry. But if he's still there, go ahead and get him. He's available in about half of leagues. He's been phenomenal so far. He catches the ball. They mention every single broadcast, or basically every drive that he catches a pass, they say, oh, he's an ex-wide receiver. And they love doing that, which I love it for fantasy because you can see it. He's natural with it.
But Cole, did you know Antonio Gates used to play basketball?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It seems like it's inevitable that they love Brady. This guy was a high school quarterback. Yeah, he was the best player in the nation. Like he went to college, and that's already an anomaly in itself. So
he did something different than what he's doing right now. What?
Yeah, exactly. But Tyrone Tracy, in my opinion, he's the number one pickup of the week if he's available. Like I said, 55% of leagues.
So, brief aside, I totally agree. Tracy's he's got game. The juice factor is high here, and you got to chase this in a Giants offense that just needs to grab onto anything that works and not let it go. So Devin Singletary presumably comes back next week.
Right.
Maybe he's full go. Maybe it's kind of a snap count situation. We don't know yet. Regardless, near term, Devin Singletary does ultimately return to full health. What is your gut feeling here on what this backfield is going to break out like going forward?
Yeah, I mean, Singletary's the guy who's got the money, obviously. Yeah. And it's funny because I got this question on Twitter. You can feel free to hit us up on Twitter there. I'm _ Colt Williams. You can find Luke at DLuke87. But I got this question. It was like, hey, it was a really nasty one. It was like Xavier Hutchinson, Tyrone Tracy, or some other just anomaly, like some other guy I was not going to say to start whatsoever. And I thankfully said Tyrone Tracy. I wish we knew that Singletary was out. It was like maybe a day later, or 24 hours later, we knew that he was out. So it was a little bit easier for him to swallow that pill and start him. And then obviously he did phenomenal. But what do I think it checks out to be? If it's a 50-50 split, I mean, that's still serviceable. He's more of a flex than he is like a running back too. But Singletary definitely muddies up the water. It just depends on how much they want to run him out there. Like Singletary's been okay. He hasn't been Tyrone Tracy though. So if you're looking at the future, I don't know, Brian Dable, like he has this thing with Singletary. Obviously they're back there on the Bills together. And so, yeah, I would say closer to 50-50. If I had to lean one, it's probably Singletary, not for fantasy, but like who actually gets more. It could very well be Singletary.
Yeah, Singletary's still been good, and
Yeah.
you can make the argument that Singletary's softening up defenses, and Tracy kind of feasted on that, but
Yeah.
Tracy's done a lot as the lead guy the last 2 weeks, so that kind of doesn't hold as much water. I like Tracy a lot, and I'm just interested to see what his involvement is going to look like with Singletary coming back into frame now.
It could be.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it could be a little bit like the next guy we're going to talk about. Like they have a clear guy that they want to be the starter in Zamir White, and then Alexander Madison. Like Alexander Madison he's again rostered in 61% of leagues, so he's probably rostered, but he's been consistent for fantasy. But with Zamir White out, like he got the bulk of the touches, he was pretty good for fantasy, and we may very well see that where Singletary gets more snaps, but the other running back is more productive. So Alexander Madison, Tyrone Tracy, they're both up there for me as people that you could start. If you got James Cook, I think Ray Davis. We talked about him we saw him on Monday Night Football. 20 carries for 97 yards, 3 for 55 through the air. It's a no-brainer to add him if James Cook. I mean, I was lucky enough. I had him. I was able to flex out of him, but as the James Cook manager, like you need to have some. He seems like the insurance policy if he were to go down, and this is about the time of the season that you want them. Bye weeks are happening. Like I forget which week it is, but there's 1 week that has like 6 teams on bye. Like you're going to need options otherwise. So yeah, Ray Davis is a guy that should be added too.
Yeah, it's kind of like with Braylon Allen for the Jets. Like he's been too good to put back in dry dock at this point. Yeah. Especially Cook in a game that they really needed to have to get control of the division back under control, which they were able to discuss to do, getting the win tonight against the Jets. Over 150 total yards. Has that huge long catch where he just goes up and spears it like a natural wide receiver. A guy that at 5'8", 220 pounds to be able to play like that, it's a little bit like Tyrone Tracy, where it's like where are they growing these guys these days? They're freaks. So yeah, I James Cook. I mean, if I'm a James Cook owner, I'm a little bit nervous. This guy's definitely not going to go away, and he absolutely has more business in short yardage situations near the goal line. Between that and Josh Allen, yeah, as a James Cook owner, I'm a little bummed.
Who was it last year? Was it Latavius Murray that was on the Bills that was just stealing the touchdowns, or like even other veteran backs that were just coming in?
It was Josh Allen,
and Josh Allen with 15 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, but people coming in, and that was the knock on James Cook. Like I think he was like third in scrimmage yards, like 1,500 yards or something like that. But it was just he'd got no touchdowns. I think he's already eclipsed the amount of touchdowns he's had so far this season that he did last season. But yeah, that's a little scary seeing Ray Davis do that. I'm not saying trade away James Cook. Keep an eye on the situation. And people are probably this far into the podcast, they're talking about running backs, and they haven't talked about this guy yet. The guy who scored the most points in fantasy this week over quarterbacks, wide receivers, everybody, Sean Tucker.
Yep.
He's rostered in 0% of leagues. I swear, hand on the Bible, I picked him up in one of my dynasty leagues just before the week started. I had like one of those situations where you could throw somebody on IR. I picked him up. I was like, what the heck? It could be nothing. But I do that every single week, and I encourage that. If you have an IR spot, extra IR spots,
oh yeah, if
you could put somebody who's out or doubtful or of course on IR on there, put anybody on there. And I love doing that, especially with backup running backs, because that's just like, that could be a golden ticket and you don't even know it. But Sean Tucker, 14 carries, 136 yards and a touchdown, but he didn't stop there. He added another 3 receptions, 56 yards, and yet another touchdown through the air. Rachaad White was obviously, he missed the game with the foot injury. And that's the tricky part of this, right? It's like, who are you going to go for? Because they play on Monday Night Football. If Rachaad White is out there, like, are you starting Sean Tucker in that situation?
Yeah, this was already a tricky situation to map out, and it just got a whole lot trickier because this kind of explosion, almost 200 yards of total offense on not even 20 touches. Yeah, they're gonna have to take this very, very seriously. And Tucker was a guy who had some juice coming out of Syracuse last year.
100%.
Very prolific collegiate career. Went undrafted because of a heart issue. Otherwise would have been probably like a day 2, maybe early day 3 pick. And it didn't happen last year. Rachaad White kind of took over and didn't really need any help. So but obviously it's a totally different landscape now. Rachaad White and Bucky Irving just haven't done enough to keep this guy off the field, and yeah, I mean, I don't get me lying. I have no idea what it's going to look like when Rachaad White comes back week 7 or week 8, but yeah, I mean, I'll take a stab. Why not? Like a performance like that, even though it's like peak like Kyle Shanahan, Matt Breida era 49ers messy. Like, how the heck, what is going to happen here? I really don't know, but yeah, why not? I mean, that he showed some real big playability.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really rough schedule. So it's worth noting, at least. True. They get the Ravens, which is the 4th best. They get the Falcons, which is the 8th best. And then they get Kansas City, the best against running backs these next 3 weeks. So that's what just scares me a little bit. It's worth noting. We mentioned it with Rachaad White, I think, maybe last week or the week before, and the situation on what that's going to look like. But yeah, there's a lot of these backfields that are muddy. You just got to, pick up one of these guys, throw them onto your roster. Hopefully you shine it, and then you realize it's gold. That's really, really the best thing that you could do with them. But Sean Tucker, one of my favorite running backs from last year, but then went undrafted, much like Braylon Allen. I was like, oh, awesome. And then he goes into like the 4th round. I'm like, what are they seeing that I didn't see? I get their understanding with Sean Tucker and his heart condition or whatever it is, but so I totally get that. But let's move on just a little bit faster. We got the 49ers duo running backs. I put 2 in here. I wanted to get your input on it, and I'm pretty sure I already know it, and I'll tell you why. But Isaiah Gurindo and Patrick Taylor, both 49ers backup running backs, since Jordan Mason's going down and CMC still not playing. Gurindo, he rushed 9 for 23 yards and then broke out a 76-yard, what would have been a touchdown. He just went down early. He went down. And I know people will say, oh, he got tackled. No, he didn't. But he is a size speed freak, ran a 4.33 at 221 pounds. If you use any kind of weight adjusted speed score, so it's, the fast guys should be fast if they're lighter. He was fast and he was heavy. So that's exactly what we want to see. Isaiah Pacheco's score, which one of these guys who was drafted late, was 118. Gurindo's was 125. So it is very easily for me. It's Gurindo. Are you in the Patrick Taylor camp at all, or?
I mean, yeah, it's Gurindo. I will say that, like, let's not forget, like, even Jordan Mason took a couple years of Kyle Shanahan finishing school before they were comfortable letting him be the guy. So if Mason misses in week 7, which obviously is entirely possible, I'm not putting Gurindo down for 20 touches. I'm personally like, do I want him over Taylor? Sure. But I knowing that I'm probably not going to get Gurindo in a lot of leagues, I'll throw a claim on Taylor because it's Kyle Shanahan, man. I would flex either one in that situation if I was really shorthanded.
Yeah, and they play the Chiefs, which, as I just mentioned, they're the worst possible matchup for running backs. So pick your poison. I personally didn't think Gurindo looked great when I was watching him early on. Then obviously he shuts us all up with that big run. But again, you're not going to look great when you're trying to run the ball like that. So,
and I mean, not to overanalyze, but it was a play where the Seahawks sold out to stuff an inside run, and Gurindo bounced it outside, caught the Seahawks flat-footed, and he just outran the whole defense. Like it's one play where he got to kind of show off one of his obvious, inarguable strengths. Is he really ready to be, the lead back for Kyle Shanahan? Mike, I'm very apprehensive about saying yes because he didn't do it in college and he's a rookie. So
let's talk about this next guy, Kamani Vidal. He's rostered in 16% of leagues. He broke off a huge receiving touchdown. Yep. I think it was early in the game too. We both liked him going into the season because we saw J.K. Dobbins was pretty sketchy. Gus Edwards, like, their history hasn't been a clear career path on their production. Right. Edwards, he as he mentioned, he went to IR, so that's going to open up some more work for Vidal. Like, he's clearly the running back 2 for the Chargers. He's not the number 1, so don't get it twisted. But he could be a role player, and if an injury happens, like, they want to run the ball. So I think I think it was this last game, Dobbins had maybe like 25 carries, and he's constantly, they're carrying the ball nonstop in this Chargers offense. So Vidal is somebody Again, kind of an insurance back at this point, but could see a little more work.
Yeah, Vidal is a priority grab for me because I mean you just laid it out perfectly. The only thing between him and just acres of volume are J.K. Dobbins' knees and Achilles tendons. Like that's it for between him and 20 touches a game. So yeah, you want to get Kamani Vidal on the cheap while you still can, because any day could be that day, for that unfortunate day for J.K. Dobbins. So yeah, not to be cynical or anything, but yeah. So
yeah, you gotta have a plan B. And when you said J.K. Dobbins' knees, I just imagined that I was on a Ferris wheel and you're looking off, and it's like a Ferris wheel during the day, not at night. So you can see the duct tape, the bubble gum, the zip ties. That's what I imagine his knees look like at this point. The man's been through hell. Like, it has been awful for him. But yeah, Vidal is somebody who should be.
You see where the struts were welded and then re-welded, and like
I welded them.
It's like
it's not even weld. It's like what is it, like a whole bunch of caulk, and then they just spray painted silver over it. Like, nah, this will do.
Where's the regulating body for this structure? Yeah. This is not safe. Yeah,
this is not safe.
It's a little bit that.
What's also not safe is Dearness Johnson. You may say, what team is he on now? The Jags running back, Dearness Johnson. I liked him. I think he was on the Browns. I could be mistaken. I liked his tape. He has not really done anything in the NFL. But I also like Noah Brown. Like, I like journeyman, weird, one-off players. Noah Brown, yeah, he's had his games.
Noah Brown is good, sir. That's the difference. No, yeah.
Yeah, that might be the difference. But what I was trying to get to, Dearness Johnson, I mean, Travis Etienne, he got banged up with a hamstring injury. He was on the hamstring list.
Right.
He's the pass catching back, but he also does some work between the tackles. Like, Tank Bigsby is the guy to have, no doubt.
Right.
It's a juicy matchup with the Patriots. He's very highly rostered. But Dearness Johnson, a speculative ad, especially if Etienne, for some reason, goes on IR or gets traded. I know that's been in the rumor mill as well. So Dearness Johnson, I don't really want to talk about him anymore.
Yeah, he's Dearness Johnson, so sure, why not? If you're that desperate, why not?
Another one, Antonio Gibson. He's rostered in majority of leagues, but he was the leading running back on a team for the Patriots in Week 6. I mean, they played against the Texans, which were top 5, so I didn't really expect too much. But now they flip the script. They get another top 5 favorable matchup, and the Jags. Stevenson, he is expected to miss some time. It's not a certain thing, but if he is, I mean, it's a favorable matchup. You could do worse. Tyler Goodson, if I'm the Jonathan Taylor manager, like, he seems like a no-brainer as the backup. Like, Trey Sermon, we mentioned it last week, like, he's not been very effective on the ground,
right.
And that's all he does. Like, he does not catch the ball. Tyler Goodson, he's game script proof, so I think he's a good insurance policy. And then Tyler Algier, he's coming off a 100-yard game. Like, he's, again, another person who, if Bijan goes down, which he went into this game with a hamstring injury, he was a game-time decision type. So, yeah, Tyler Algier, he's proven that he can be a good running back. As much as I hate it, he's more of a thorn. Is any Bijan Robinson manager listening to this? They're like, Tyler Algier, why is he on the field at the goal line? Like, I get it, he's a big body back, but Bijan, like, he's the 8th overall pick. Like, he's a good running back, and he's had 2 rushing touch. I digress. You saw my tweet about it. I was very furious this weekend. So
one day they'll let Bijan Robinson play football.
Maybe.
They have to, right?
They have to
in 2026.
Let's get on to the wide receivers. Do you want to start with Allen Lazard or Josh Downs? Both guys, you're not pounding the table. You're like hiding under the table from them.
Josh Downs is fine. Like, my issue with Josh Downs is not so much with the player as the
It's
fit.
Richardson.
Yeah, Flacco was still out there last week, and he had a great game. What was his final line for me, Colty?
7 for 66 and a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, that's solid. That's definitely got a place as kind of a mid-range flex, low-end wide receiver 3. So, yeah, the thing is that we're waiting for Richardson's return. Now we think it's upon us. Are you that crazy? I'm not that crazy.
I'm not.
Yeah, I'll start Adnan Mitchell before I'll start Josh Downs for sure. So, but I mean, yeah, He's such a scoring format dependent guy, like in terms of how much you need to really keep him in your peripheral vision, because even in half PPR he loses so much juice. In full PPR though, he can be a nice piece to have on standby. So that's
in the last 3 games of Joe Flacco, he's got the 4th most targets in the NFL. So
right,
like
yeah.
Does he have Joe Flacco again? I'm on the fence that he's not. I think Richardson starts this next game.
Yeah.
So that's the really, really tough part. Like it's like you add him if Flacco's in there. Yeah, you even start him, but you don't even question on adding him or definitely not starting him if Richardson's in there. Like it's just
if you can help it.
It doesn't meld perfectly. Alan Lazard, rostered in half of leagues. He's unstoppable. Like he's unstoppable in the sense of like once you finally start him, complete dud.
Yep.
So that's the biggest fear with Alan Lazard. He caught a huge Hail Mary pass here at halftime. We mentioned it. I don't know, that was probably like 60 yards, and that was a touchdown. But even without that, he was okay. It was serviceable. It's closer to that dud game that I'm talking about, though.
Yeah, I mean, I've made great sport of belittling the Alan Lazard revival tour that is upon us, but yeah, we're at a point where it's kind of getting foolish to deny that he's got a real role in this offense. He saw another 7 targets tonight. Yeah, one of them was a totally maximum fluky Hail Mary where he did make a nice play on the ball, jump ball, came down with it. It was a huge play. That's definitely going to earn him some brownie points with the boss, with Aaron Rodgers there. So, yeah, I mean, he's not going away. The Jets offense is playing, I would say, above expectations right now, a little bit. Maybe literally as of earlier tonight for the first time they're playing above expectations. But they're trending in the right direction. Alan Lazard his role has been larger than expected during that mini surge, mini resurgence for the offense. So it's a thing. I mean, I don't like it, but it's a thing. And what can you do? And it's a thing. And here we are. Great. Cool.
Yeah. So we kind of voiced our opinion on that. While I take a small victory lap, I don't go completely around the track. I'm like, hey, if you start him, it is on your own terms. Like, just know that this is when he scores 3. Speaking of scoring very, very little and then having boom bust games, talk about this next guy, because I'm personally not adding him. I understand that the game script got them into that position, but Gabe Davis.
Yeah, one guy that when they gave him the deal that they gave him, it was kind of a Darnell Mooney-ish contract in free agency. Got my attention. $39 million over 3 years. Not quite what Mooney got, but it's pretty serious money for Gabe Davis to go to Jacksonville, a Florida native. He went to UCF. With the emergence of Brian Thomas Jr., the resurgence of Christian Kirk after that nightmarish first couple games of the 2024 season for him, and then the return of Evan Ingram from injury in this game, naturally, of course, Gabe Davis randomly comes out of nowhere to squeeze his first 2 touchdowns as a Jaguar. Obviously, we all totally saw that coming.
We all knew it.
And considering that both the touchdowns, came with the Jags deep in catch-up mode, it's hard to buy this mini spike, but with the Jags 1-5, they're pretty much dead in the water. Rumors are getting hot and heavy in a hurry that Doug Peterson, kind of like I was saying for Mike Williams, needs to get with a real estate agent immediately because he is going to be moving whether he knows it or not. Christian Kirk could be out of town potentially in the next couple weeks. He is in year 3 of his contract with the Jags, but there's no more guaranteed money left. He's not young. He's not old, but he's not young either. Brian Thomas Jr. is there now. So potentially he's got something of a target floor going forward. He's kind of a big play guy. The Jags want to throw the ball down the field. I don't know. I mean, depending 14-team league, I'd do it, but short of that, probably not.
That Christian Kirk contract was one we were all scratching our heads with too. When he came from Arizona, we were just like, oh, I think it was like $72 million or something for 4 years. You're like, oh, okay.
It's like, it was
interesting. It was, his first year there, I think he did all right though.
Oh yeah, 1,100 touchdowns. Yeah.
Yeah. Who wins this game next week? The Jags versus Patriots in London.
Oh man, the people who sleep in. The people who sleep.
People who sleep in. That's really good. As a Patriots fan, I'm going to have to get up and watch it. But oh my goodness, yeah, that's the people who sleep in. I can't wait to see the over/under on it. I'm 35.
No.
And how did they get there?
Your boy.
I'll look.
Your boy
I'll look
May,
it up on this next one.
Your boy May, yeah, he made some turnovers, but he made some plays. Yeah, exactly. Got the 3 tuds.
3 touchdowns, baby.
So that's why I put this next guy on the list for the wide receivers this week, Demario Douglas, 14% owned in, sleeper leagues. And with the baton now passed to May, maybe a little bit ahead of schedule, I was definitely eager to see who would click with the new QB first among the wide receivers. Nobody had done anything of note yet. Demario Douglas had like one game with like 68, 69, nice yards receiving. So that was it. And the guy who clearly benefited right away from May's first game was undeniably Douglas. He followed up a couple of solid like 6-7 catch games in the last couple of weeks with the best day for any Patriots wide receiver so far this year. 6 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. And no other team in the NFL has less of their team's potential passing yards among all the players involved in the passing game spoken for on average than the Patriots. I mean, it's the Wild West. Like, if somebody takes over even like a 24% target share in this offense, there's a good chance that he's on the waiver wire right now, or, I don't know, could be had very cheaply via trade if you're feeling frisky. So, yeah, Douglas is a guy I like. Kayshon Boutte also had 59 yards and a touchdown on 3 catches, made some big plays. Again, they were down by multiple scores, so Texans kind of in a soft prevent. But, yeah, there's potentially opportunity for some value over the next few weeks in this Patriots offense as it, he's going to continue to create some turnovers. Sure, more than Brissett did. That's not the point. They're not grading him on that, really. So, yeah, I like Douglas. I also like Boutte.
Yeah, and I like Polk as well. I mean, he's another person who hasn't done anything. Like, we talked about him last week. It was like Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, Jalen Polk, even Kendrick Bourne you brought up. Like,
right.
It is absolute shot in the dark. So, shoot your shot and just see who you can land on, because, yeah, it's the Wild West.
You're the Patriots fan. Which way would you lean?
If I had to pick one, probably Demario Douglas if I wanted for sure fire points. But like later in the season, it could be Polk.
Yeah.
It could very well be. So Demario Douglas, absolutely, for like the next month, probably him. Like I don't expect him to find the end zone every single week, but the 9-10 targets, yeah, for sure. Pop Douglas can do that. The over-under in that game, 43 points.
That's about what I was expecting. I mean, the Jags can score.
Really?
The Jags can score, and the Pats just put 21 points. It's not an explosion, but they got 21 points on a pretty good Texans defense. So yeah, it should not be a field goal fest. I don't think.
Yeah. We talked about this guy just briefly with Marvin Harrison Jr. getting a concussion, but Michael Wilson, he's somebody who's been getting a lot of targets. You like Greg Dortch as the replacement in the event that, unless you're humoring me.
I was kidding, just to get your dander up.
Okay, but yeah, I think either one are an option there for you. Hopefully, you've got better options. Hopefully, you can get somebody. Demario Douglas, 14% rostered. Gabe Davis, 27%. I don't know if I'm even going there, but yeah, Michael Wilson is somebody in a pinch. He should score some points. Romeo Doubs, he complained about his role in the offense, and then he comes out with 2 touchdowns. So we mentioned Gabe Davis. We got to mention Romeo Doubs, and I think there is a little bit of smoke here with the Romeo Doubs one, because while it was 3 receptions, 2 of them being touchdowns, the Jordan Love, the Jordan Love led Packers offense has been low volume passing, but extremely efficient. Like Christian Watson, whatever it is, 3 catches. I think he got a touchdown too.
Yep.
And then Jaden Reed, like, it is tough to know whose week it's going to be. Last week, I think it happened to be all 3 of theirs, but it's tough to see whose week it's going to be. But Romeo Doubs is somebody, and the people know this, half of them do, because he's rostered in half of leagues. I'm not trying to start him, but I want to continue to see how his role plays out.
For Doubs?
For Doubs.
Yeah. I would flex Doubs next week, no problem. Yeah. No problem. I mean,
I'd play him over Michael Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it, is like Michael Wilson, Douglas, Doubs are all, they're solid flex plays where if you got an inkling or the matchup is just, seems really high floor, I would roll them out. I checked just because I was curious, and my hunch turned out to be right. I checked to see what Christian Watson's roster percentage was after this week, down at about 43% on Sleeper. So I was like, okay, let's throw him on there. With Wicks now down for at least week 7, potentially longer with a shoulder injury. Jaden Reed also gimpy coming out of that game. Who knows what's going to happen with him in the Packers' next game? Ankle injuries we've seen it a couple times recently. They tweak it and they can stay in the game for a little while longer that game, but then once the swelling sets in and the soreness, that it becomes a real uphill battle to be ready for the next game. So anyway, there's what has been and still long term remains a very crowded competition for targets in the Packers, very desirable Packers passing offense. There's some relieving of that pressure temporarily. Christian Watson potentially, and Dobbs too, have a chance to maybe lay claim to a little bit bigger piece of the pie going forward. Watson had it was brief, but when Jordan Love started to turn it on around like week 7 last year, and Watson was still healthy before he went down for the year in late November, early December, he was kind of the top dog in the offense. Granted, Reed was still a rookie then, but yeah, I mean, people were dumping him because Love goes down, and the Malik Willis offense, although it was good, was so low pass volume. And then as soon as he comes back, as soon as Love comes back from injury, Watson goes down with that ankle sprain that looked like it was potentially going to be a season ender at the time. I mean, it looked really bad. So anyway, seeing him back out there that quickly, and he runs under a 44-yard touchdown. Both these guys are worth a grab to me for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the higher over-unders on the week, 47.5 with the Packers favored to win on the road by 2.5. That one kind of shocked me a little bit.
Who do they have?
But they play the Texans.
Oh, that's a good one.
And they're favored. Yeah, no, that's going to be a really good one. That'll be a really good game. Darius Slayton, this is if Malik Neighbors is out. He was really good in one game and serviceable here this past week. If Neighbors were to miss another game, which is, again, 2 games to concussion is like pretty shocking. Like that's kind of extreme. We expect 1 week, even 1 week on the Thursday. Like it was a long week for him, 10 days, and he still missed that week. So to see it 2 weeks is kind of crazy. But Darius Slayton. Yeah, Darius Slayton, somebody who could be an okay flex. And then I wanted to mention this last guy. This is extremely deep leagues or even dynasty leagues there. But Bub means business. Rostered obviously 0% of leagues, but he got 8 targets in his very first game as a full-time player. It's a very short week of Thursday Night Football. As we already mentioned, Olave almost certainly misses this game. Raheem Shaheed, he's getting his knee checked out. He's banged up as well. So, I mean, Bub means, and we talked about it before we aired, but we see these backup quarterbacks come in and they just have this rapport they've been playing with the second string, and that's exactly what Bub means is. Right. So they get this rapport with these guys, and it's like,
and then
this couldn't be any better for Spencer Rattler and Bub Means. So I think we're both expecting Derek Carr to miss this next week, but yeah. Very, very, maybe like a DFS or dynasty play. I'm looking at all my dynasty leagues right now to see if he's out there. But
Mason Tipton also, if you want to get real hinky with it, real deep, yeah.
You'll see I picked him up and dropped him.
it's on my audit log for sure. Means, I mean, the size, speed alone, like I still remember his combine performance vividly. So yeah, he's a guy who physically looks the part, and 8 targets in your first NFL game. I mean, that, or whatever. I don't know if it was he may have dressed already before, but your first game of consequence, that gets your attention pretty quick. So yeah, if you're in a 17, 18 team league and need a guy, Bub Beans might be your guy.
He means business, man.
His Bubs. Bubs is on business.
His Bubs means. Let's get into tight ends. A couple of names just to throw out there. In some leagues, I've seen them hit waivers. So if they're on waivers for whatever reason in yours, they're not 99% owned or rostered. Like it's 80%, 70%, 60%. Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram, David Njoku, if they were dropped, obviously go and pick those guys up. But let's talk about some real guys.
Definitely was spite dropped in some leagues. So yeah.
Oh, I've seen him dropped in multiple leagues. Yeah. Absolutely. And I picked him up, and I, unfortunately, if not mistaken, I'll have to double check that league, but I'm pretty sure I dropped him as well. It was like a second dud game. So,
although let's be honest, you put these guys' names on this list so that the only three names on our list of tight ends wouldn't be the next three that you're about to chew through.
Yes,
because it's those. I feel like it's Groundhog's Day, and I'm just staring at these guys' names every week for eternity.
You really are. You want tight ends who are getting targets, not going out there and blocking, and running routes, and that's exactly what these next three guys are. I'll rattle them off.
This is the 38th consecutive waiver wire episode appearance for Hunter Henry, folks. Just brace yourselves.
It really is. Noah Fant, 19% rostered. He had 6 targets. He caught them all for 63. It's worth noting. Geno Smith is throwing the ball a ton, over 40 times a game. So, yeah, we kind of expected that going into
leading the league in game script adjusted passing rate. Yeah, the Seahawks have been chucking it.
Yeah, they have.
The Fant thing, I will say I watched that game, and the Niners were just blanketing Metcalf, 11 targets, 3 receptions. I mean, they took him out. And the Seahawks were just trying.
The last fourth quarter, right?
What's that?
It was like all the fourth quarter, like little dump offs and stuff right at the end.
Not all in the fourth, but all in the second half. Yeah, where he just had to get the ball out because the pass rush was all over. So yeah, how much is that going to persist? I don't know. I will say that I've been partial to the theory that bad offensive line play can be beneficial to tight end passing volume. That kind of happened for Fant in this game, but we've sung the Noah Fant song and dance many times before, only to have it break bad on us. Anyway, go on.
No, and that makes sense. And Kenneth Walker, he got a lot of targets too.
Yeah.
I get exactly your theory. It's like, oh, pass rush is coming. Don't have times for plays to develop. Get it out quick. So
Brees Hall's 2023. Bam. Exactly.
yeah. Like 1,000 bazillion targets. Hunter Henry. We're talking about the Wild West with the Patriots offense.
Yeah.
Second most targets in the Drake May led Patriots. So with how bad tight ends have been, like you could do worse. He had an okay game. So we'll take it.
Exactly.
We'll take it at the tight end position. And Cade Otton, 42% roster. That is way higher than I thought. I didn't know it was going to be that high, but he has the third most targets over the past month at tight end. He just found the end zone last week, and now he gets the Ravens, who have given up the most receiving yards to tight ends this season. So Cade Otton, clearly like the third or fourth target in the offense, but somebody who's out there running routes and getting targets.
Hey, like you said, could always be stuck with like Jonnu Smith.
The fullback, Jonnu Smith?
Exactly. And hey, I like Jonnu Smith, but
I love him.
Having started him, I can say that.
Yeah. Speaking of the Patriots, let's get into the quarterback streams of the week. If you throw 3 touchdowns in your very first NFL start, you're probably going to make our list, especially when you go to you play against the Jags, who are the best possible matchup for opposing quarterbacks. We mentioned Caleb Williams on last week's Stream of the Week episode, and he comes out, has a career day, 4 passing touchdowns. As we mentioned, May, I mean, he's adding some rushing ability too, like just with Caleb Williams. They're both running on the ground. We knew that Drake May had that. But yeah, he's a deeper start, maybe a 2-quarterback league. He's probably already rostered in most 2-quarterback leagues, but he looks promising.
For sure. And, the Patriots are not accountable. Like, the Patriots are in kind of the perfect Goldilocks situation for letting May play real NFL games against real teams that really need to beat the Patriots. But there's no expectation of winning. You just have to develop. And we haven't really had that for a lot of quarterbacks in recent memory. There have been expectations kind of sooner and sooner and sooner for quarterbacks. So it's kind of nice that the Patriots can just stink. And May can lose games and hopefully make some plays along the way, but mostly just be a rookie, and it's fine. So that's nice that they've put him in this position. I like May in this matchup for sure. I mean, we saw Caleb Williams just turned into Dan Marino, one of your streams of the week from last week, by the way, nicely done, against the Jags in London, and now the Jags stay in London as punishment for how bad they stink. Nothing wrong with London. It's you just you can't come home after that game, guys. Sorry, that was terrible. So I like May in this spot a lot. I'm gonna throw another rookie out there. This one's a little spicier. Thursday Night Football.
I was just gonna say I don't know if it's spicy.
I mean, considering
it is spicy. Yeah,
there's dueling narratives here. So, Bo Nix and the Broncos heading to New Orleans for Sean Payton's first meeting with his old team, the Saints, on Thursday Night Football. That's not a coincidence. People want the Amazon Prime wants to see Sean Payton get booed mercilessly in the Superdome for 3 hours straight for sure. And there is a possibility that the Saints show up in a huge way for this game because it's Sean Payton and it's there's an emotional component and all that. That is possible. But in Week 5 against the Chiefs, with no Rashee Rice, no Isaiah Pacheco, no Hollywood Brown, the Saints still gave up over 450 yards of offense to the Chiefs in that game. And then Baker Mayfield puts 51 on them this last week. Even though he had 3 interceptions, he still got 50 points on them in their house, okay? The Saints are beat to snot on the defensive side of the ball right now. They've lost now 3 in a row. Things are kind of circling the drain quickly. And it's going to be a rookie quarterback, a rookie 5th-round quarterback under center. The Broncos just lost to the Chargers, but the Chargers were coming off a bye, and Jim Harbaugh's Jim Harbaugh. All he does is win. So overall, the Broncos have been trending in the right direction for the last month now, for sure. Bo Nix has been a top 10 quarterback in fantasy the last 2 weeks. So I think Nix is I feel very bullish, honestly, with his rushing floor and just the direction of the offense overall. I like it. And then Andy Dalton against the Commanders. I mean, it's just he might throw 2 picks, but he'll also get you 3 touchdowns. Probably. Yeah. He'll find a way. I'm starting Chuba Hubbard. I'm starting Deontay Johnson, and I'm not gun-shy about putting Dalton out there, even if there is a pick or 2.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. I like the Andy Dalton one. I like the Bo Nix one too. Surprisingly, do you know what he is on the year? What quarterback he is?
I'm gonna guess QB 17,
12.
Oh,
he's a top 12 quarterback. So,
wow.
In his first NFL start, he didn't do great, and then he played Pittsburgh, which most people aren't playing great against Pittsburgh. Goes to Tampa, has a 20-point game, plays the Jets. Obviously, it's the Jets. No rookie should be playing against them. Right. Has a horrible game, but he played the Raiders this last week and the Chargers, and then had 20+ point games right there.
Yep.
New Orleans on the season have been top 10 against quarterbacks, but as you mentioned, they're banged up as of recently. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is one where it's like if he's playing against good defenses, yeah, he's gonna have a bad game, but I think they're probably closer to middle of the pack. I would definitely think he's streamable this week. For sure, adding a ton of rushing ability on the floor, whether it's just getting in the end zone or multiple rush attempts each and every single week. So, yeah, I think this is one. It's gonna be a fun one, another fun Thursday Night Football. I don't think we're excited about the quarterbacks 100%, but the narrative is nice.
It will be interesting. It will be very interesting to see. Yeah. Well, they're gonna boo. The question is, will it be so loud that they have to delay the start of the game? And I'm hoping that it is. Yeah, because Sean Payton, lest we forget, saw that the Saints salary cap was such a disaster that he said, okay, well, I'm just going to go make $20 million a year as a broadcaster instead. Good luck, guys. It's been real. And double birded and peeled out in his Corvette out of the parking lot, gone. So,
I can't believe they made a movie about him. With Kevin James, of all people, playing. It's just it could be any guy, and you just throw a visor on him. Is that what they're called? The visors?
Yeah, the golf visor, yeah.
Yeah, the golf visor. Just throw that on, and then it's Sean Payton. You could be him for Halloween. You just throw it on. It doesn't really matter. But I digress. No, that should be a good game. Bo Nix, a good start. Drake May. Who thought we'd be talking about quarterback streams of the week come middle of the season?
Look at us.
It's already week 7. Yeah, look at us.
Not me. Not me.
Not me.
Yeah, it's flying by, man. And how do you feel your new franchise quarterback is been tossed the keys? Are you optimistic? Are you feeling kind of like a Tennessee Titans fan 12 months ago when Will Levis took over?
Yeah, I mean, 2 interceptions in his first game, expected.
It's a tough 3
touchdowns in his first game, pretty unexpected. I'm excited to see what he does. Yeah, with those receivers, I'm gonna say with those receivers. I remember
that's 4, really.
The Titans of old, it was Kenny Britt and just a whole bunch of just absolute Westbrook Akine or whatever it is, Nick Westbrook. Sorry, he's getting some slander here. And he caught a touchdown, I'm pretty sure.
He did.
But getting some slander. No, I'm pretty happy for Drake May, and things are looking better than Jacoby Brissett. So
the Titans had Corey Davis once upon a time, sir. Let's not. Let's put some respect on his name.
5th overall pick.
Western Michigan, baby. NFL Hall of Fame pipeline. Alrighty, folks. Well, that will do it for us tonight. Thank you for tuning in and giving us a listen. If you want even more analysis, valuable insight, help winning games with your fantasy team in 2024, you got to get it back on track. You got to sock away some W's before the season gets away from you. We can help you do that if you head on over to the fantasyindex.com/store. That's the website. Head over to the fantasyindex.com/store. Go in there and grab yourself a copy. Buy access to the Super Fanatics newsletter package. It'll give you all the information you need throughout the week, every week, for the rest of the NFL season to get yourself in the playoffs. I mean, what good is having a fantasy team if you're not playing meaningful games in December? Fantasy Index can help you do that with the newsletter package, which will give you buy low targets, waiver wire help, advice based on your league size, scoring, format, all that stuff. Let us help you go to the promised land, folks. fantasyindex.com/store. All right, folks, we'll be back with you next week for another fun episode of the Fantasy Index podcast. Until then, stay safe out there.
See you then.
This has been the Fantasy Index podcast. For more great content, premium rankings, and cheat sheets, head over to fantasyindex.com.